Good afternoon. Today is the 21st of June. It's the longest day of the year and we'll hit the Atwell-Wilson Motor Museum here in Calne in Wiltshire. This is a sort of, I don't know, like an evening gathering that they're having. Someone's already left, so I'm going to have to start filming a bit earlier than I otherwise would have done. I do apologise in advance if I get things wrong, if I get my words muddled up, if I fall over, if there's wind noise. I'm afraid that's just the way it goes on this channel. I won't be focusing on the motorbikes, but there is something really weird here. It's got a Quasar. It's got a 78 registration. This, I've never seen one of these before. It looks like a very early sort of attempt to make one of these kind of safer motorcycles, like that BMW bike in the 1990s. I don't know if I want to go in that though. It looks a little bit on the dangerous side, but there we go. We're going to leave the rest of the motorbikes for now because I don't know anything about them. We'll come back to that mini later on. There's stuff coming in all the times, but we'll start down here with this Austin-Healey Sprite. These came out in 1958 and were made until 61, but it's a pre-suffix registration, so I don't know kind of what year this actually would be exactly. But that's good. Look, there's a little frog there. Call him Freddy. Luggage rack, of course, at the back of there. Sort of classic piece of British history. Rather like this MGB-GT V8. I think this is a rubber bumper conversion. I'm not sure. I'm not the biggest fan of rubber bumper conversions. I think if you do have a rubber bumper car, you should take the bumpers off or just leave them as they are. But some people like the chrome bumper conversions. And this is quite a nice colour. I can't tell if this is like a vermilion or something. It might not be. It could be blaze red. It could be something else. I'm not sure. Wheels look great. I like the wheels on this. Next to it we have a very, very nice Bentley with rather an aggressive body kit. And it's dark green with a beige leather interior and wood. I do like a nice beige leather interior. As far as I can see, this is a Brooklands R, which is interesting. I like the Bentley Brooklands. I like this colour, I like the interior, and I like the wood. That's all I can say. And I think these are the original alloy wheels. Very, very tasty indeed, viewers, but of course very, very high fuel consumption, which is a problem. Rest of it, very nice. Ooh, we've also got something very nice here. An Aston Martin DB7. This is 1999-2000 registration. Oh, Stratstone Mayfair. Embossed headrests, carbon fibre interiors, bowler black paint and individually painted alloy wheels. This car has only done 11,000 miles. Problem is we have sort of various bits on this car which are from Ford, because this is from the Ford era, and those door locks and the handles look suspiciously familiar, as do the Mazda 323F tail lights, but it's still one of the best looking cars ever made. It doesn't really matter about the Mazda tail lamps and the door locks and things like that, because that is exquisite. And I like to drive a DB7, viewers. I've never driven an Aston Martin before in my life, but it would have to be one of these. 1967 Ford, I think this is a Galaxy. Yes, a Galaxy 500. I don't know the name of this colour. For once, there's not too many American cars actually here. There might be some more a bit later on. But yeah, this one, it looks great. I love the look of this. I also quite like the look of this Saab. Not the only Saab here. There's a particularly special Saab that we'll come to a little bit later on. But this is a 2005 Saab 9.3 convertible. This is the second generation. Hopefully it has a petrol engine, viewers. Yes, it does. It's the smallest petrol engine that they did. It's a 2 litre but badges a 1.8T. I've actually driven one of these. It's an automatic one in April 2021 on the channel, and it was honestly pretty good. I'd like to maybe drive a more powerful one than this at some point, but yeah, it's very good. Still got the ignition barrel down there. Ooh, an Alvis. Gonna have a look at that later. Very sort of typical early 2000s colour, isn't it? That sort of lime green. We've got Willis Jeep. We've also got something else sort of on a military theme coming up later as well. A couple of things, in fact. 1997, 1998, Alfa Romeo 916 GTV Twin Spark. It's quite an early 916 actually, this. Black interior as most of them had. I think this was actually made before they introduced the V6. When I was at school, a friend of mine, his father got one of these. It was a silver one at about this age, and I remember going in it. It was great. I've never driven the GTV. I've driven the Spider with the later JTS engine, which was fun. And then a Ford Escort RS Turbo Series 1 in white, because the vast majority of them were white. And we've got some upgrades as well. I bet this is producing more than the standard 130 horsepower. And also it's increasing in value whilst I'm looking at it, which is pretty normal, isn't it, with these Fords. In fact, here we have another fast Ford from the 1980s, about the same kind of age. I think the RS Turbos came out about 1984. This is an 84-85 Ford Capri 2.8 injection. I don't know if this is a special. By this stage it's got a 5-speed gearbox. Actually, we can have a look at the gear lever. It looks a bit different from standard. Yeah, it is a Type 9 gearbox, that one. It's pretty good actually. It's very nice. I forget the colour of this. There were lots of blues that you could get with the Mark III Capris, and I forget the exact name of the colour. We've got also upgraded alloy wheels. I think these are off a much later Ford. They're certainly not standard, but that looks good. We've also had the indicators changed for some clear ones. That's quite a normal thing to do with a lot of people. And a Mitsubishi Starion. This is the Starion Turbo. Now, Ben, whose a car you'll see in a moment, which has already been on the channel, that Volvo 480 there, he and I were discussing whether or not they ever imported a normally aspirated Starion over here. This is Turbo one, as you can see, wide body. That's pretty good viewers, I must admit. I would quite like to have a go in something like this. That would be a nice thing to do. And then we've got gauges and gauges and gauges and all sorts of fun, including a turbo boost pressure gauge. You can't really see from this angle, but I can tell you it's there. And lots of sort of orange little bits on the instruments. Very nice viewers, we like that very much. Another Frog Eye Sprite. This one's been a bit modified. Some mini-light or mini-light style wheels on this. And actually that looks kind of like a beige leather interior of these. It could be vinyl, but you know, I approve anyway. It's trying to fall over here. There we go. It's something that I'm particularly excited about, viewers. A 1983 to 84 Toyota Sprinter Terreno GTV twin cam 16. And yes, this is the type of car that was in Initial D. Those of you who've seen that anime series, I think there was a manga comic for it. I used to watch that about 20 years ago actually. Yeah, this is not quite the same as that one. It's not the same colour for a start, but it is the same type of car, and these are expensive. I never understood why you could get air conditioning in these, and this is a Japanese domestic market spec one, by the way. The British ones had a different specification, and they also didn't come with the pop-up headlamps. They came with the more standard kind of Levin style front end than these. But yeah, amazing. With the fabulous engine in it, 1.6. And hello to at Spanner_86 on Instagram, and UK Auto Collective, a channel I've not actually heard of, but look at all these little things in the window. And yeah, it is an A86, by the way. That is the chassis code for these, and that's pretty good. They're worth a lot of money now. Mr. Bill is here from the Fuel Power channel. He's brought Millie, 1991 Mini City. It's one of the sort of later ones on the Carb A series, 998cc. And Millie's going in for some paint at some point later this year, but she's still looking very good. And I have done a video on this, I think 3 years ago I filmed her. Also got a very late MGB GT here on a 1981 to 82 plate. The latest I've ever seen, I think, is on a Y or an A plate. So the thing about these is that they kept making them until 1980 when they actually closed the factory in Abingdon. But the registrations just kept going. They weren't as desirable cars as they are now. I mean, there are literally something like 15,000 MGBs on the road at the moment. There's lots of them. But this is a very late one. The car would originally have rubber bumpers. The chrome ones aren't sort of correct, but maybe I should just not say that, so I get in trouble if I do. But it looks good. The colour is very nice on that. And then we have a mini neon. Actually seems like it's kind of quite inexpensive. It's up for 6,000, which for a Mini in this sort of condition with an MOT is actually really good. It's a 91 Nordic blue. There you go, neon by Mini. As Mr. Bill from the Fuel Power channel says, this could be yours. Yeah, there we go. Subaru BRZ, based on the Toyota GT86. This is the 2014 car. I've always wanted to have a go in one of these, whether it's the Subaru or the Toyota version. I don't really mind. My preference is not to have one that's modified like this one is, but you know, that's just me. I promised we'd see some Volvo action, and here we are. 1988 Volvo 480 ES, owned by Ben, who writes for Classic Retro Modern. As you can see on the back of there, the sticker. I've driven this car. I drove it last year and it was wonderful. It kind of gave me an idea that I really needed sort of, you know, my own Volvo like this, and well, here it is. We actually decided to park together as well. His car is nicer than mine. For a start, the wheels are a lot better. Now I'm getting a set of wheels that look like this to put on mine, which will be a massive improvement. They actually have a scrap 480. One of my viewers has offered them to me, and they will make the car an awful lot better in many, many ways, so that's fine. But it's good to see actually them together. You don't normally see too many of these at shows, particularly not together like this. So we've got a Midget. I think we're still on the Mark III Midgets. This is a round arch one. It's a nice car. I don't know what the name of this colour is. It might not actually even be a sort of BL colour. It could be a different one. I don't know. And someone's put a 5-speed gearbox. That's a good move, because I'm not even sure by this stage that these came with synchromesh on first. Certainly the 68 one of these I drove did not, and that was a bit of a pain. Also, not being the brake survey was also scary. And then we have it's a grandfather here, another Austin-Healey Sprites, different from the first one we saw. Same colour, and only the 4-speed gearbox in this early one. Calne fan, that's a good idea actually. And we have some much older stuff. MorrisAIDS, in fact 2 MorrisAIDS, different grills on them. They're both probably from the 30s, I'd say. We've actually got another MorrisAIDS here as well, so we'll look at this yellow one first. One of the things is with these is that they're not very expensive. They're much less money than you'd think to buy one of these. They kind of aren't of interest to a lot of people because they are difficult to drive, and it's sort of difficult to find parts of these and things. But that means actually, if you want a pre-war car, they're not that bad to buy at all. I think either of these would be under 10 grand, something like that, which is remarkable. More kind of relics of British motor industry from yesteryear. 1969 Riley Elf Mark III. Now this was made in the very last year that Riley existed. Riley was discontinued as a brand towards the end of 1969. So the very last Riley cars are on an H. This is fantastic. It's a Mark III. The Mark III Elves and Hornet actually got the later doors before the rest of the Minis did, in 1967, I think it was. So no exposed hinges and a push-button door handle, a bit more secure than Minis at that stage, and Mark IIs would have been in 67, which didn't necessarily even come with door locks at all. But yes, it's had definitely some larger wheels fitted, which has necessitated these kind of arch extensions on it. Always a bit more practical than the other Minis because of this boot design. And I really like those, to be honest. I think they're great. I never realised they made the pin scowers this late. I think it's a company called Steyr who make these. This one, if that registration's correct, it's between 2005 and 2006. I thought they'd stopped in the 90s or something. That looks like a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagen door handle. I might be wrong about that. I'll have to skip on those views because we're not supposed to be talking about cars with most fuel in them, are we? MorrisAIDS. This is a Series E, so it's a later MorrisAIDS than the other two. Whether this is immediately pre or post-war, I don't actually know. Someone who's an expert perhaps tell me. But it's very, very nice. It's a very nice condition, actually, that. You might take a look inside, actually. Wow, that's superb, isn't it? And we've got a modified Mini. Now, these rear lights are not original to the car, and neither is that boot lid. This is a car from much later, I'd say 80s or 90s, rather than the 60s that they're going for. But it's actually got John Deere logos on the seats, which is just sort of brilliant. What engine and stuff is in there, I have absolutely no idea. Ooh, that's very nice, isn't it, viewers? And Alpha Spider, 1977-78 plate. We just caught that Riley before it's leaving. I'm glad I'm filming now rather than later. So 77-78 plate, right-hand drive. Don't know what engine's in this. Maybe the back of the car will actually tell me. They made these, I think, till 1994, from memory. Lots of the classic shape like this ones that you see are the later ones, or their left-hand drive import. This is an earlier one, and it's right-hand drive, which is great. So it's a 2000 Trump TR6, 1971-72 registration. I wonder if it's still got the original fuel injection system in it. Someone's covered up the right hand side of this rev counter to stop you going into the red bit, presumably to stop you, dumping the engine or something. Now this I am very excited about. 1994 to 1995 Toyota Corolla 5-door GL. I forget the model code for these. This, I think, is the 1.3. It could be wrong. It might even just be the 1.6. I don't actually know. But yeah, 16 valve engines of fuel injection. I think they're chain driven as well in these. These are the sort of cars that really gave Toyota an amazing reputation for dependability. I would prefer the Executive. The Executive was the top of the range. I think GL Exec or something like that it was called. But you can't be too picky, can you? Another TR6 here on an H. Let's see if this one's actually got information about it, or is it just a general overview. It's just a general overview. Okay, so it's 669. I don't want to move this windscreen wiper around because, it's not my car, is it? But yeah, it doesn't actually give the date on this, so it's either a 69 or a 70 on an H. I think those seats have been changed, which is probably a good idea with the head restraints on them, or headrests. The overdrive, I think, on these was a separate switch. Is it? Yes, I think one of those switches on the steering column is the overdrive switch to this. It's very nice. Also got NC MX5 here, facelift 2010. I have actually driven one of these. It was also a 6-speed like this. Sport Black Special Edition is the one I drove, and it was pretty good. They are quite nippy. It's just for 2 litre. Yeah, it's a Sport Tech. Yeah, it's 2 litre. They're quite fast actually. Nice to drive. Ooh, yeah, here's the Alvis. Yep. I've already seen it, viewers. Don't let me get confused about what's going on. It is a 1954 TC21 100 built by Tickford. It's probably the last one before we went to that sort of TETF body style, which lasted until the end of ours production in 1967. Someone's got a Panama hat. That's a good thing. I'm also wearing one. Yeah, that is it's rather nice, isn't it, viewers? Probably quite old-fashionedly designed by the mid-50s, but certainly sort of true British craftsmanship. 1969 Triumph 2000 automatic. This is one of the later pre-facelift ones. The later ones had the Innsbruck facelift on them, which made them look like the Stag. This is an earlier one, but a really late one. They stopped in '69, and this is August '69 onwards, so it's one of the last ones. So with the earlier dash and things like that, that radio looks interesting. There's a speaker down there. I'd quite like to drive one of these actually. I'd be, very much impressed with the Stag that I drove quite recently, and that would be next on the list. Metro. This one's a Metro City Mark II with the Mini-Lite style wheels, because it's a lot easier to find tyres for those as opposed to the original metric wheels that would have been on the metric steel wheels. I've driven a very similar car to this, a 5-door City, which was from 87. This is an 89 to 90. No Austin badge, because Austin badged cars stopped in 87. Young chap owns something. I saw him come in. Sunroof's quite handy. And then an NSU Prince L 1971 to 72 registration. There's the engine in the back. Not much to it, really. It's not much to it at all. Tiny little engine. This is also a right-hand drive one, which is quite amazing. Years and years ago, Mr. Richardson from Furious Driving did a review of one of these. I don't know if it's this exact car, but it's a very similar one to this. It looks like a Chevy Corvette, doesn't it? NB MX5 2003 to 4 registration. Don't know what specification this one is. It's only got the 5-speed. I think the really nice one of these is a 6-speed. Speaking of Stags, here is a Mark I Stag. The coach line will be sort of later on this one. Quite an early one on a J, so 70 to 71. The very early ones of these were on an H. But it's not too long after I started. I think that's Rio Brown, that colour. I might be wrong. This is something that I've been getting a bit excited about actually. 1982 to 83, Audi Coupe 5e. This is not a Quattro. It's not a turbo or anything like that. It's just the standard coupe, which they also made, as well as the Quattro, and both based on the B2 Audi 80. I just love this sort of early 80s kind of details, like this rubber spoiler on the back, the reflector panel. The fact that it says fuel injection, because fuel injection was still a real marketing point at this stage for cars. And the 5-speed manual in here with the extra gauges down and there, if you can get my reflection. That is remarkably kind of original, unmolested, isn't it? And we've got Replica Cobra. This is a Dax, which is one of the sort of more common replicas for these. Built between 1992 and 2002. I don't actually know what year that would be. I'd have to look this sort of up. I don't know if it's actually got a Jaguar sort of donor car, but actually that year that's perhaps given up its life to keep on the road, but I don't know. 1967-68 Austin Mini 1000 Mark II with hydroelastic suspension, and the house style door handles, and the exposed hinges and the sliding windows, which is a bit different from the Elf we saw earlier. That looks actually really good. Another midget here, 7172 on a K. Again with the round arch of this one. That gearbox looks like it's been changed from the earlier one of no cigarette on first, but I could be wrong. Now this is very exciting to me. This is a second generation Saab 9.5. It's a really late one. They only made these between, I think it was 2011 and 2012, and that was it. About 18 months or so. Based on the same platform as the Vauxhall Insignia A. This is the top of the range one. It's an Aero. It's got the four-wheel drive system on it, or cross-wheel drive I think Saab called it. And that is absolutely amazing. I kind of really want one. I'm not too taken with these wheels on it, but that is nevertheless really good. And we have an Austin Champ. Ignore the plate on it, that would have just been, I think, put on the car when it was taken out of military service. It's not the year of the car at all. These were made in the sort of early to mid 50s, so 67, 68 plates sort of wrong. They had a big engine, much bigger than a Willys Jeep in these, but ultimately they weren't that successful in military service. They didn't make an awful lot of them. But seeing one actually its original kind of colour and things like that, that's really good. I haven't seen too many of these at shows, to be honest. And we have a nice Morgan. This is a 4.4, 7273 registration. I can't remember by this stage what engine was in these. Somebody might have to enlighten me. It's some kind of 4-cylinder engine. And then a TVR Cerbera. Very nice views. About 97, something like that. Personal plate in this. TVRs didn't really go in for wood, but they did go in for beige leather interiors, so very agreeable. Can't remember what engine was in these. Some kind of V8, I think. I can't remember if I was still using the Rover V8 by this stage, or if they had their own engine by now. I forget. Actually, I'm not so good on TVRs myself. Another TVR's turned up there. We'll have to go see that in the next part. Another TR6 here. Unusually, this one doesn't have the kind of upgraded wheels on it that most of them seem to have now. This one's got some more standard looking wheels on it. What's that? 70 to 71 registration. Oh, a Ford Orion Mark II. An Orion L. Either a 1.4 or 1.6, I imagine, by this stage. No rev counter. No electric window, something like that. You'd have to get a, an LX or a gear or something if you wanted luxury, and that is not luxury. 88, 89 plate on that. Jensen CV8, like the one in the Baron, but quite heavily modified this one is. 64 actually, this registration. Imagine it's probably about a Mark II on a 64. Jazz Ocean Club livery. Now this is interesting. Citron Visa. Citron Visa for 1.4. I think there's a TU engine in this. Could be wrong. It could be the earlier suitcase engine. 84, 85 registration. We got a rev counter. This is dead posh, isn't it? 5-speed gearbox, rev counter. Wonderful. 1997, 1998 MGF. And it's got a cream leather interior. It's almost beige, but not quite, in my opinion. But it doesn't really matter, does it? It's still nice. Most of these, I don't think, had beige leather interiors or cream leather interiors at all. Couple of Caterhams. This one's a super light. I forget what engine's in this. I know it'll be really fast because these just weigh absolutely and utterly nothing. This Caterham's a little bit earlier, actually quite a fair bit earlier. This is from the 90s, 95, 96 plate on this. This might have a Rover K series in it actually. A lot of them did at this time. Another Stag. I'm not sure exactly what year this is. This one's a manual. I should be able to tell you if that's a Mark 1 and Mark 2, but because people keep changing them over, and well, this one's a Northern Irish plate, I don't know. Citron 2CV, probably a 2CV6, judging by the sort of age of this. Still as sort of utterly basic as they always ever were. It's a Special. I think the Special was like the bottom of the range one. 86, 87, so around the time they went to, was it Portuguese production, right at the end. 1999, Mazda MX5 NB. Those are fancy wheels, aren't they? They're very shiny.
I live in Wiltshire, but I'm at university in Bath, so...
1986 to 87 Peugeot 205 1.9 GTI with the very nice wheels as well. I bet that's worth quite a lot of money now, viewers. We might even have the early dash in this one. Yeah, it's got the early dash in it, this one. Dash was changed in 88. Then 1966 Triumph. I think this will be a TR4 by this. So I should look at the information sheet, shouldn't I, before I start proclaiming things. But yeah, it is a TR4A with the independent rear suspension. Just before the TI5 came out. I think the next year, I think it was 67 those came out. Oh, is this a TVR Griffith? Yes, it is. Griffith 500. Very nice views. This time we've got wood. And we've got a beige leather interior. It's not all beige. Some bits of it are blue. But it's very nice nevertheless. Right, thank you ever so much indeed for watching part 1 of the Slightly Shambolic Shuffle around this gathering at the Atwell-Wilson Motor Museum. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more incorrect information.